Thank you so much for having me here. It's great. In the morning, it was extremely hot, and I prayed, and I said, God, just a little bit of air conditioning, please. Just a little bit. You got to remember, I am from Calgary, Alberta, which is our own little Siberia. Quite often I say that we are living right now behind the Iron Curtain in Canada. And that's exactly what it is. Canada, unfortunately, our beloved country has fallen. England is burning, France is gone, Germany is on fire, Australia, New Zealand, gone. You're next. Unless you rise up, unless you stand up and fight, just like your president. As you can tell, I grew up behind the Iron Curtain under the boots of the Soviets. And you should pay attention to people like me. Because we grew up in hell. We escaped hell for freedom, for justice, for peace. I remember when I was learning about the history of this great country, I remember the pilgrims that came here, and they came here for a purpose, for a reason. What was that purpose? What was that reason? They went to their knees, and they gave this land to the living God, and they made a pact with the Creator of heavens and the earth. And God accepted their sacrifice. America used to be a place where you can build a house, get a dog, raise a family, and worship your God as you please. All of that is under attack today. So, what are we going to do about it? As I travel around your beautiful country, quite often I will ask the people a very simple question. Whose land is this? Because if it's Biden's, if it's Obama's, if it's Clinton's, I rest my case, just give it to them. But if you're like me, if you know that this is the land that God Himself has given to you, then stand up and fight for what's rightfully yours. And when you do, when you will stand up, you will have to pay the price. Nothing great was ever accomplished without making sacrifices. Significant achievements always require some form of sacrifice, whether it's time, comfort, or personal desires to achieve a greater goal. Here is what Martin Luther King Jr. said: the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. In the past few years, my friends, God Himself was testing His global church. And unfortunately, most failed. Many sold Him for silver, just like during the times of the Nazis and the Soviets. Others for false peace, peace with the enemy. Some for the bed of Delilah. Multitudes got scared and bowed down before the modern day Hamans. The fire was too intense, the lions too scary, and willingness to worship the new golden statues of today's Nebuchadnezzar's too beneficial. I'll tell you why I am here. I am here as a warning to you American people, that if you will not put your house in order, you are next. The globalists are not stopping. They have no intention of stopping. They are telling you what's coming. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Why? Because they will own everything, including you and your children. We're not talking anymore about money. Maybe 20 years ago, they wanted your money. Now they want you and your children. They're not stopping. If you don't believe me, ask Sean Foyt. He just came from our country. Ask people living in England, being arrested for a Facebook post, or ladies that are quietly praying outside of the slaughterhouses of the abortion clinics. Ask them. Or come and talk to me, and I'll tell you what happened to me. See, people come to me quite often and ask, well, I saw your arrest, and I ask them immediately, which one? Because I have been arrested so many times, my lawyers don't even remember. Well, when you this and that, I got over 300 citations and over 120 court cases. All of it for doing my job as a clergy. My first ticket was not for keeping the church's doors open. My first ticket was for feeding the poor. Because you have to understand what is happening. And what is happening is simple. The wannabe pharaohs want to rule every aspect of your life. They want to know who your friends are. They want to know where you work. They want to know where you go to university. They are the ones that are giving you licenses to practice. They are the ones that want to control everything in your life. Feeding the poor is unacceptable because in a system that the globalists are building right now is a system that if you need something, you are to go to them. You are to ask the state for help. But if you go back in history of this beautiful country, you will know that it was the job of the church to take care of the poor, the orphans, and the widows. But we willfully have given that to the state. We didn't want to be bothered with the poor and destitute. Let the government take care of the elderly. Let the government take care of our orphans. And I said this thousands of times, and I'm going to say it again. If you Americans, if you don't want your children, give them all to me. I'll take care of them. I will feed them. I feed thousands of people on the streets of my city. I can feed thousands more. We, the church, we failed. We failed. I don't blame the darkness. Hey, I don't blame Obama. I don't blame Clinton. I don't blame Biden that most of the time didn't even know where he was and what he was doing. I don't blame the darkness for being evil. That's what they do. That's their job. I blame the light for not shining. I blame the church for not doing its job. Where are the pastors? Where are the clergy? Cowards. Cowards. Compromisers. They made a deal with the devil for a bowl of stew, like Esau. That's why we have trouble in the land. We have to recognize what is really going on. You can blame the demon rats, you can blame the rhinos, you can blame the liberals, you can blame the conservatives in my country, because it was them that locked us like animals. I was kept in metal cages for simply doing my job as a pastor. I was arrested like El Chapo of Alberta, Al Capone of Canada. On a tarmac, I was arrested. On a highway, in the snow, in my home, for doing my job. But why they could get away with this? Why this happened to us in the first place? Because the church refused to shine. If the thousands of pastors and the clergy would stand with us, this would never happen to us. Just the pastors and the priests, if they would just be willing to do their job, to defend the sheep, to fend off the wolves, this would never happen to us. We, the remnant, we are hurting because they refuse to do their job, and therefore they're guilty. They're guilty before the living God. And I wouldn't want to be them. My friends, the second test is coming. Something that it's over, something that we have moved on. Here is what God said to me. Tell them, they have but window of opportunity. What is going to happen to you when a different administration takes over? What is going to happen to your children if they take out the Republicans in the White House? We must rise up. We don't have a choice. God is speaking. A year ago, He said, tell them that we have 3.5 years of that window of opportunity to prepare, to get ready. So prepare and get ready. When I travel around, I meet people that are very satisfied right now. You've got your president, thank God. And now it's kumbaya, let's cruise around, let's enjoy life. Listen, this was just the beginning. You must finish your job. You have to finish your enemies. And I'm not talking about guns and swords. I'm talking about finishing the job. Arrest them. Charge them with treason. Let accountability come back to our beloved nations. Where are the charges for what they've done to us in the past 4 years? Where are the arrests? Why those people are still free? They slaughtered American people. They murdered our elderly. They wiped out our youth. You cannot talk about justice if some of those people are not charged. We need Nuremberg number 2. Nuremberg number 2. If we are to talk about justice, democracy, and republic. Pastor, we just want to move on. We just want to forget. Forget the things they've done to us. Tell that to the victims. Tell that to the victims. The blood of the victims is crying for justice. Where is justice for them? Revelations 21:8. But to cowardly and unbelieving and corrupt, vile, and murderers and sexually immoral and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars, their place will be in a lake that burns with fire and sulfur. This is the second death. Before the bloody murderers, liars, idolaters, he says cowardly and unbelieving. If your pastor shut down the door because of a little pathogen 1,000 times smaller than a bacteria, why are you there? Why are you supporting those fake pastors? Obviously, they do not believe in the Bible. In my Bible, maybe you're reading a different one. In my Bible it says, lay hands on the sick. It doesn't say run away from the sick. Lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. When they came to our church, it was no brainer for me. You know, I understand I'm weird. I get that. I understand that. I'm different. I actually read the Bible. Most of the pastors buy their sermons online. For 20 bucks, you can get a very clever sermon these days. Sometimes it takes me weeks. I have a sermon for you, and he completely wiped it out. No, he says, warn them. Warn them. Because the window is small, the time is short. Now is the time to push as much as we can. Now we can do it. With the right president, I'm not talking perfect president. If you want perfection, vote for Jesus. We must follow the cloud, not the crowd. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will be lonely often and sometimes frightened. But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. That was Friedrich Nietzsche. You see, after all, Jesus did set us free. So free we must remain. For that freedom we must fight, and that freedom we must give it to others. When they came to our church, I had nothing to tell them. Everything that needed to be said was already said. When they came illegally, I just told them simply, get out. Now imagine tens of thousands of pastors saying the same thing. Get out, you little minions of Satan. Get out, you little devils. Who do you think you are, you uncircumcised Philistines, that you should defy the armies of the living God? You're a disgrace, officer, for wearing that badge. You swore to protect us. Now you are attacking us. You're not a law enforcement agent anymore. You're a gangster in uniform. Get out and don't come back. Well, they did come back. And I was arrested in the middle of the highway. I was charged with insanity. I didn't even know that they have laws like this in our country. I was charged with, are you ready? Inciting people to come to church. Duh. That's what I do for a living. I incite people to come to church. That's what I do. Guilty. Organizing an illegal gathering, participating in illegal gathering. I was even criminally charged for not wearing a muzzle. And I've told them, I'm not your dog. You put a muzzle on my dog and he will bite you. I don't understand people that were wearing a muzzle. I was charged with terrorism, and I was convicted of terrorism. I was part of the truck convoy. Have you heard about truck convoy? Well, they asked me to become their pastor. So I gladly accepted. I organized church services for the truckers, for the farmers, for the hurting Canadians. And after one of those sermons, I was arrested outside of my home and charged with terrorism. I have become the first Canadian ever to be charged with this, and I was convicted of that crime. And a month later, after they took me through years of persecution and prosecution, after they arrested me, I was arrested by Canadian version of FBI, undercover police, uniformed Calgary police, detectives, you name it. Everyone was there. At that time, I was very popular within the law enforcement agency. I was interrogated for hours and put in solitary confinement and then metal cages. Can you believe it? In the 21st century, Canadian authorities kept a pastor in metal cages no bigger than a man sitting. I was half dead, I was passing out, then back into solitary confinement, back into another metal cage. But you see, I did not quit, because my Jesus is not a quitter. My Jesus went all the way to the cross. Imagine Christianity that follows Jesus, not their denominations. Imagine Christianity that is not following men, but actually follows Jesus. Imagine that Christianity. What happened to us? We've built Jesus, we've made him, we molded him into our own image. We've created an idol called Jesus, but that Jesus has nothing to do with the real one. My Jesus is courageous. My Jesus is not afraid of pathogens. My Jesus went all the way to the cross, and my Jesus says very clearly, pick up your gluten-free donut and follow me, right? Maybe that's in your Bible. Maybe that's in your pastor's Bible, but in my Bible it's very clear. Pick up your cross daily and follow me. Jesus is not promising that you will be a pastor of a mega church. He's not promising that you will be a billionaire, but he's promising you that you will get a crown one day if you're faithful. If you take it all the way, not just half the way. I say it this, Donald Trump, as worldly as he might feel at times to some, he is more godly and more fired up for Jesus than 99.9 so-called pastors. Did you hear him speak at the memorial? Did you hear your government officials talking about my Jesus? The seed of the martyr is producing something that we have never seen before. Please, don't destroy that. Don't bury what God has given you. A man paid with his own life to give you this opportunity. Did you hear the memorial? Did you hear what Donald Trump, your president, said? Did you watch it? Remember when he mentions Calgary, the city that I am from? Have you picked this up? He says in Calgary, the vigil for Charlie Kirk. You know what the authorities said to me? If I show up at City Hall, I will be arrested. And I said, so be it. Not the first time, and not the last time. And we had the greatest revival that I have seen in many years. 5,000 people went to their knees. 5,000 people prayed for USA. 5,000 people were singing your national anthem, praying to God that America would rise up. Because if America goes down, so goes the free world. When I came here the first time, during the craziness, I boarded a plane. It was a ghost town, there was no one there. It was me, my son, an empty plane. And I said, God, what am I to tell the American people? I'll share my story. I'll tell them about arrests and communists and Chinese soldiers on Canadian soils by the tens of thousands preparing to destroy the United States of America. I'll tell them that. But what is specifically you want me to tell them? And here's what he said, and I'll never forget. That's why I keep bringing over and over again. He says, tell this great American eagle. He calls you great. Tell this great American eagle that it's time for this eagle to rise up once again and flap its wings. You've done it before. Americans, you've done it before. He wants you to do it again, not just for you and your children, but for our children as well. 2 Corinthians 3:17. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, freedom. John 8:36. So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. My friends, we are witnessing a repetition of history. I've seen this movie before. If you don't change the script, it's not ending well. You've got few years to make this right. That's why you must plow, you must push, you must fight, or else. Galatians 5:1. It is for freedom that Christ set us free. Stand firm, then do not be encumbered once more by a yoke of slavery. There was in history, there was no greater freedom fighter that ever lived than Jesus Christ himself. He showed us how to stand and how to fight, how to live and how to die if needs be. Jesus broke the chains, but the enemy is forging them again. The fight is big, and it is to the death. The enemy is vicious and well equipped. The globalists are not stopping. The evil is moving forward. However, our God is bigger, stronger, and with unlimited resources. The only thing he needs is you. G.K. Chesterton said, the true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what is behind him. What are we fighting? Whom are we fighting? In my opinion, our biggest enemy is us, our fears, our unwillingness to do what's right. We are called to be the salt and the light of the earth. We must be visible and spicy to make a difference. Not greedy, hiding, and living just for ourselves. We are under attack. Globally, the church, instead of influencing the evil, embraced the evil, and got influenced by evil. Now the evil has become the head, and the church has become the tail. One of the biggest lies I hear over and over again is that we should not get involved in politics. Tell that to Esther. Tell that to Mordecai. Tell that to Daniel. Tell that to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Actually, you will have to throw the entire Bible, because Jesus is King of kings and the Lord of lords. Doesn't get more political than that. You know why we are in this trouble? Because we allowed psychopaths, wicked, evil, crazy people to run for office, because good people believe the lie. We should not get involved. And now look at us today. Our children are not being educated. They're being indoctrinated. And that tells you a lot when it comes from the mouth of a Polish man that grew up under propaganda. What do we teach our children? We don't even teach their history. They don't even know what the Declaration of Independence is. They don't know why Americans got their freedom. They don't know their amendments. When I travel around, people say, this will never happen to us Americans. Are you blind? It's already happening to you. You just don't see it. Your rights are infringed on left and right, everywhere you go. Can you carry in Washington? Can you carry in Chicago? Can you carry in New York? But there you go. Your rights are infringed on. And you let it. You let it. Father Dwight Longnecker said it this way. Are you ready? First, we overlook evil. Oh, we have been overlooking evil for a very long time. As long as they're not coming to my camp, I don't care what they do. Well, you should. Because first, we overlook evil, then we permit evil, then we legalize evil, then we promote evil, then we celebrate evil, then we persecute those who still call it evil. Is that not what we see, left and right? The people that will never dare to come out of the closet are ruling over us, demanding more. The jihadists are yelling, bloody murder, and nothing is being done. What is happening right now is not emigration. I am an immigrant. It took me 5 years to emigrate. I did my paperwork, I did my medical, I waited, I had my interview in the Canadian Embassy, I had to have money. 5 years. What is happening right now is not emigration. You are being invaded. That is why the church must shine. We fought the Nazis, we fought the Soviets, the communists, the socialists, and now we must fight the globalists. Their agendas are identical. What they want is what they always wanted: enslavement of humanity, control, power, money, blood. The church must rise up, speak up, and push them out. We must say loud and clear, no to the wannabe pharaohs. Not an inch. You will not have our children. You will not have our marriages. You will not have our possessions. You will not have our public square. You will not have our future. We are taking back what rightfully is ours. James 4:7, submit yourselves then to God. Make pact with the devil, that's what it says. Collaborate with the devil. Let's keep peace for the sake of peace. I don't find this in the Bible. Resist. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. I do not make deals with the devil. I was offered $2 million to shut my mouth. Well, first of all, that's an impossibility. If you know me, Pastor Ken knows me. I'm preaching in his church tomorrow. I'll give you a lot more if you want to come. Patriot Church, come. I got so much more. Visions and prophecies, what's coming. I have seen what's coming. What's coming is not good. God is telling you, put your house in order. Put your house in order. Economy is going to crash. People are going to be dying and hurting. Put your house in order. Perhaps together we can stop this. But you might say, what can I do? What one man can do. Here is what Edward Hale said. I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And that's what I did. I did something. Without political powers, without money, without friends in high places, I stuck to God and the promise that no matter what, He has my back covered. I was arrested so many times, but every single time God got me through it. They lit my house on fire. I was attacked multiple times by terrorists called Antifa. My church was lit on fire, broke into our home. Twice they stole everything from us in the church, unscrewed tires in our pickup truck, and in the middle of the road just took off. I was physically attacked, guns, knives, stones. In prison, the guards were giving incentives to the inmates to murder me while I was kept in solitary confinement. They opened the doors. And here is the miracle of God. I got such a favor with the criminals. I spent time with bank robbers, human traffickers, gangsters, drug traffickers, and they said to the guards, if anything happens to this man, watch your back, because he is a good man. He does not deserve to be in prison. We deserve to be here, not him. I had every inmate, when they sent a petition to the director of Remand Center in Calgary, demanding my release from the solitary confinement. They said, if you don't release him, you're going to have a riot. Next day I was released, and I had every inmate in my unit coming to my church services and prayer meetings. I prayed for Muslims. They were coming to me and said, Pastor, we know God is with you. Can you come to our cells and cast out demons out of our cells because we cannot sleep? You're not allowed to do that. But I said, what are they going to do to me? Arrest me? I went there, I cast out demons. Next day they came back. For the first time, Pastor, we could sleep without problem. I lay hands on the sick. God was doing signs and wonders and miracles. Gangsters were giving their lives to Jesus. So they kidnapped me. I was kidnapped by sheriffs, taken hundreds of kilometers away to another city, and they locked me in a psych ward. No doctor's evaluation. They did not even consult that with Alberta Health Services. I was taken to MaxPot for the most dangerous terrorists, and then a psych ward. People were jumping up and down, going in a circle, and I said, Lord, what am I to do here? Am I to jump with them up and down, or go in a circle to witness to them? I'm clueless. I don't know what to do. Within a few days, I started church services and Bible studies. People were coming, they were touched, healed, and eventually I was released. You see, you were talking about dinner with Donald Trump. I'll tell you why he likes dinners, because I'm sure he's a Polish immigrant. Polish people love dinners. I was supposed to meet that man in Mar-a-Lago for my birthday, 2021. But they arrested me in front of my home, and I spent my birthday in a psych ward with coffee. I was supposed to have a coffee with President of the United States of America, and the coffee I had in a psych ward was the most horrible thing I've ever tasted. But I'm sure there were many Donald Trumps running around in a circle there. You see, no matter what enemy throws at you, it doesn't matter what they do, it doesn't matter what they say, our God is bigger, stronger, more powerful than all of them combined together. Therefore, he says for every day, for you and for me, fear not. Do not be afraid what they can do to you. If they kill you, you're going to have a face-to-face with Jesus. You're going to be sipping the best coffee that there is. Jesus is bigger than the president. I will end with this. God gave me a revelation of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He said, tell the Christians that instead of running from the fire, I want them in the fire. In the fire, I deal with their enemies. In the fire, I set them free. In the fire, I meet them face to face. In the fire, they become a testimony. In the fire is your promotion. So instead of running from the fire, run towards the fire. If you want to see Jesus face to face. I wrote a book about prison and all the craziness that happened, the background story, and a little bit of history, to tell you that if you don't smarten up, this is what is waiting for you, and maybe worse. So if you want, to your left, I'm going to be there, and please get it for yourself and for your enemies. Maybe they will love you. Maybe they will hate you more when they read it. Be blessed. Thank you.